Huh? You want to be a part of this? Or you just want to be a part of this? Oh, the tag! Ah! Oh, you get too big. Welcome, welcome. Ziggy 1X in the kitchen, and it's a mess right now. But we are making a Southern classic. We are going to make homemade biscuits and gravy. The gravy, fresh ground. One of our neighbors slaughtered a pig, gave us some of the meat. We got the sausage here. We're gonna make some delicious homemade gravy, biscuits from scratch. And then I'm gonna do to the best of the way I understand it, a French style. And there's probably gonna be some people out there who criticize this, but I'm just gonna roll with it. A French style scrambled egg. And so this is just a really slow cooked egg in a double boiler. But this is the start of it, and we are going to jump right into it. So just behold the majesty. Okay, so the biscuits are about 8 minutes in, and we want to apply a butter and egg mixture to the tops so that they brown beautifully on top. That's precisely what we want. So it's hot in there. It's 450 degrees, so I'm keeping my oven glove on because I burned my hands enough times. Up here, we've got our sausage starting to brown a little bit. And with that, we're basically going to get it nice and brown, crispy edges, because the crispier, the more flavorful. It's the same thing with burgers. You want a crispy edge on a burger, it gives it a lot of flavor, traps the juices in there, all sorts of stuff. The butter and the flour is gonna create basically our base for thickening things. And dog, hey. And then that's gonna do a beautiful job of, oh my gosh, I'm talking like Gordon Ramsay. Anyways, that's gonna do a wonderful job of thickening it up. And we add the milk and we let it simmer until it really thickens, and it just is absolutely divine. And you know, it's biscuits and gravy is one of those things. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. I've always loved it. And it's a staple for me. I don't make it very often, but when I do, I do it right. All the butter and everything's from our local Mennonite shop here. We live out in the country, so we got a lot of stuff like that around. And we just try and get everything as fresh and delicious as possible. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that guy back in there. We're gonna let everything brown and let those biscuits rise a little bit more, and it's gonna be amazing. So we pulled the biscuits out, and you can see they're nice and golden brown. You can look inside, nice and flaky on the inside. And now we've got round 2 in there, and we've got the meat browning, and you can see that nice texture that it's got going on right there. We want it to be crispy on the edges, as I said before, because if it's crispy on the edges, it's my giant 14-inch cast iron pan, Smithy, Charleston, South Carolina. Amazing. Go check it out. Anyways, so this guy right here, we want this to be nice and brown and crisp on the edges before we really do anything else with it. The recipe calls for not straining the fat. Personally, I can't stand too much fat in my meat. So what I'll do is I will strain out the excess fat. This sausage has plenty of flavor. It doesn't need all the extra fat. And I just don't feel like I've eaten a ton of bricks after I eat it if I strain the fat out. So you can see it getting some nice coloring there. We'll pull this off soon. We'll pull those guys out, and I'm gonna do another round of the butter egg mixture. And then we're gonna go to the French style scrambled egg, and basically going to cook it with this as a double boiler. So we have added the butter and the flour, created this beautiful looking base, salt, pepper, garlic powder. And now we're gonna add some whole milk to this. And we're just gonna let it set up basically. Now, depending on, this is kind of a feel it as you go sort of recipe. So depending on the how this thickens up, I may or may not add more milk. Actually, it's a little too much heat, so I'm gonna pull it off the heat right there. And I'm just gonna let it set up. And we're just gonna keep this guy going. And you just kind of keep adding things to this. This is just a go as you feel sort of recipe. And taste as you go. Make sure that it looks and tastes right. And then we're gonna go ahead and pull out our final batch of biscuits. And I'm gonna need to add more milk because this isn't quite milky enough, so to be continued. Okay, and since I'm cooking for 10 people, I'm giving 2 eggs apiece, so it's gonna be a process of lots of eggs getting mixed into this and just going from there. And so I'm probably gonna do about, what, 10 people. I'll do a few extra eggs, so we'll do 26 eggs, just in case someone's super duper duper hungry. And we've got a stack of biscuits, so we got plenty of that. We've got oodles and oodles and oodles of gravy cooking over there. We are cooking and good to go. All right, now we have the French style scramble, which is in the double boiler, and I basically just keep it from sticking to the sides. And I just keep stirring for like 20 or 30 minutes, depending on the amount of eggs that I have in here, because I'm cooking it over very slow heat. Traps all the moisture inside the egg, very small curds, so it's extra. It's basically like a custard texture. And so it just comes out like amazing, it's delectable. And so this is gonna be me for the next 20 or 30 minutes. Add some butter in there, and then after I get it out, I'll put some cayenne pepper, salt and pepper, a few other things like that, and call it done. So the trick with this is to continue agitating the eggs the whole time so that you get super small curds, but you can see it's starting to thicken up a little bit. All right, here we go. So you can see this is how you can tell you did it, right? First of all, small curds, very, very custard-like. But the way you can tell that you did it right is there's no moisture leaking out of the bottom of the eggs. See that? What happens is the slower you cook the eggs, the more the moisture stays within the curds within them. That's why you agitate them, make them small, but also that's why you cook them, especially on low heat. There's no moisture leaking out of the bottom of these, which means that these are very, very moist eggs. Moist. Super duperty duperty moist. So by the time we're done with this, we'll go ahead and I'm just stirring them a little bit more and letting them cool off outside of the double boiler so they don't cook anymore, because we don't want them to continue cooking. So we want to introduce them to the cool air. But these are decadent, delightful. See, no moisture coming. Even when I squeeze, there's no moisture coming out of these guys. So these are going to be very, very flavorful eggs. And I'm not going to put salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper on them until I go ahead and put them on the biscuits. And here we are with the finished product. I have a single biscuit that I've just broken in half, nice and flaky and crispy. And I put some of the French style eggs with chives, salt and pepper, and cayenne pepper on one half, and I put the gravy with some of the chives on the other half. And then I'm going to apply some of this delicious fig spread to the half with the egg, because I don't know what it is, but the difference with the fig spread on the egg, the sweet and the salty and the savory, it is unbelievably good. And of course I've got my mushroom drink tonight with ginger, and we are going to have a delightful, delightful meal. And here we are in the backyard. We've got my fire pit that I made back there behind me. Got the cicadas buzzing in the trees. I'm about to enjoy my first bite of this delicious food. All right. Perfection. Mm. 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 The crispiness of the sausage when you get it in the pan first before you add everything else to it. Now we're going to try a bite of this egg. And these are just absolutely delectable eggs, just full of moisture and flavor right there. They just melt in your mouth. That's a good biscuit too. So this was Ziggy 1X doing dinner food prep breakfast for dinner, because that's my favorite meal of the day, breakfast for dinner. And just having a good time and sharing a little bit of it with you. Bon appetit.